Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Poetry Street. I'm so glad you're here at the Free Riverhead Library, and also those of you on Zoom in the comforts of your own home. Welcome to Poetry Street. Poetry Street is the room without a roof, where every voice is heard and everyone is welcome here. So we're really glad and excited that you're here. So we have three incredible features, as I mentioned. The first feature is Gayl Teller. She's an award-winning poet, was the Nassau County Poet Laureate for 2009 through 2011 and the Walk Whitman Birthplace 2016 Poet of the Year. Gayl is the author of 7 poetry collections, most recently Flashlight, New and Selected Poems, Cherry Grove, the editor of 2 poetry anthologies, Towards Forgiveness and Corona. She serves as director of the Mid-Island Y Poetry Series and is a professor at Hofstra University. Please welcome to Poetry Street for the first time, Gayl Teller.
Thank you, Chip. Hello, everybody. I'm so happy to be here, and I would like to send my warm regards out to Maggie and her husband, and I wish him a speedy recovery. The first poem I'm going to read is from one of my former students. It was the beginning of a semester, and this poem is dedicated to her. The girl who confided in a goldfish. She wrote in her college journal, as a kid, how she'd rush home from school, push open the door to see her best friend, Coralina, her orange fish with white little patches swimming in the diamond tank with golden stones, sometimes hiding inside the small yellow castle aglow. How she'd feed her and tell her all she had done that day. Hidden behind the bold outcries kids made at play, baring their bold tongues as they spoke up with answers. Answers she really knew, but for the words. How she thought this was going to be her life. Happily swimming her news out into Coralina's tank whenever she came home. The kids gone long and far across the bold sea to neighborhood parks and fields till Coralina went bobbing belly up, and the yellow castle got stashed away with her secrets boxed and shelved in the dark hall closet. A girl who confided in a goldfish, now a college freshman, who had traveled farther than she remembered to live in a dorm under the tread of strangers, where she was keeping an empty fish tank with a yellow castle, where summoning shadows went swimming in and out, as she wrote in her college journal, as a kid, how she could still feel the backs of their legs pressing up against her as freely they talked about their pets, that gushing over a French poodle, how intolerable the goldfish crackers stuffed in their mouths, and the boy who also lost his fish, who said, "Man, why can't my parents get me a lion or a dragon? I can still see her there, so early, waiting." The girl who confided in a goldfish, still swimming inside the college freshman, wrapped in her winter coat, so long before the other students arrived, waiting for me to unlock the small castle of a classroom aglow. Such a big responsibility, more than I knew how I'd become Coralina for Goldfish. Biographical footnote. Somewhere along the border, a child is nursing on the barrel of a gun. And when he's old enough, he'll pull the trigger in his eye as he looks across the wall he helped build on the invisible predicament line he never really could see until late in the night when the full moon sends shadow ghosts of his own unrest fed on his life he never lived and cannot see to live now, while flesh of his flesh is sucking on a repeater. This is a lesson I got in college many moons ago, a lesson that was not intended by the professor. This is a biology class, and we're supposedly learning about frogs, but the lesson received was very different. The biology lesson. Dissection day in the lab. He would bleed light to us under cold fluorescence. After formaldehyde frogs, the stench of beast. This frog, engulfed by his knuckles, was alive. And we were summoned to watch the insignificance of its pea-green flesh, squirming as he stretched it out on a block of wood. It was alive as he plunged in a pin through the left little leg, its well-shaped muscles immobilized. It was alive as he pierced through the right with its two little scars. Point of the lesson, the course of blood. So, no anesthesia. It would stop the heart, he said. One arm got free and reached into air, waving, pushing against his omnipotent thumb. An inexplicable smile spread across his face before he stabbed the pin through that freed little hand. The last limb was easiest. The pin slid right in, pinned alive, so we might receive it. A frog. Oh God, it was just a frog. I wanted to run, but the lesson wasn't over. It was alive. He sliced open the arm that had waved, peeled back the thin skin, pinned it open. A stain spread over the block, flowing down the sides of the wood. Its life began leaking away as sand in an hourglass. Hurry up and look, he admonished, and set the scope on a beating vessel so we might bear witness. And there it was, his smile. Again, a flickering lesson in his little head spears. Then he worked with his blade, cracked open its small heaving chest, and revealed its naked, pulsating heart. Akin to our sanctuary, whose distant throbbing He could not hear beneath the blade of his cesarean delivery into death in the stink of cold knowledge. My turn, told to look in, I thought of Hawthorne's Dr. Chillingworth, the probing violation of a living heart, and I wanted to run. The lesson wasn't over, so I looked in because he told me to. It was a lesson of flesh and tissue and tears, taking many years, but it's not over yet to see all the delicate, fragile layers of life that could be pierced, punctured, peeled back and probed. Who could count the creative ways with acid or rope or electric prods, unscrambling DNA with high-tech bugs for all the ferocity of bioterrorism, skin scorched, bones broken, hearts exposed, the black shadow dangling from the tree of life. And I have wondered down the toll of years since my first compliance. How else? How else? What's at my granddaughter's bat mitzvah? Let us pray to the high moral ground that we each think we hold, that none of us holds, that we can hardly see. Let our arms open fire around each other with human healing. Let us not turn to stone at the carnage. Oh, the carnage of lost focus, trailing from trucks, trampling babies, terror by explosive ignorance, pressure cooker poverty, Jim Crow arms that tear flesh two ways, chronic unemployment, abysmal educational opportunities, social dislocation, prejudice, indifference. Let us pray in the religion where we breathe, deeper through the other, as if in a vacation air, walking along a marginal way, along each other's coastline of splendors. Let us see the grandeur of an ocean teeming with life inside each outcast. If we take care of our own, let us remember our blood ties. Let us see the abducted girl in Nigeria as the girl kidnapped from our own family board. We are each other's own. Let us pray to what? Shamanism, Judaism, Hinduism, Buddhism, Taoism, Islam, Confucianism, Christianity, and atheism have in common a need to be consoled, protected, and escape from absurdity, despair, communion. Let us revere life as sacred connection. Let us share without dividing the enjoyment of each enhanced by the enjoyment of all. Let us pray to our likeness, shedding light on our grand mystery. Let us remember Luca of 4 billion years ago, our venerable common ancestor of all living things. In the logic of my prayer, perhaps this can save us, that somehow we see we are still that single cell, precariously clinging to a volcanic sea vent. Every day there are wonderful kindnesses going on, and they don't make the news. So here is one small kindness that I witness pretty much every day. One small kindness. Each day my neighbor carries his dog all the way to the park because she's too old to walk so far, while her puppy frisks along, high-spirited beside them. Motionless with arthritic ice, her little Yorkshire legs know surrender and hope, cradled together in his peaceful arms that don't make the news as he carries the blur of hours into deep dark with what matters. This one I dedicate for my wonderful husband of 58 years. Yay! On the good side of things. When you touch me, for Mike, when you touch me on my shoulder with the wholeness of all your fingers, with your whole palm, it is a gift, a bond for breathing in my floating afflictions, each finger a delicate, articulate petal spreads its hues of you in peacefulness and answers a hungry ghost in my spine, like finding that missing last piece of puzzle or the answer to that existential question. It's all so simple. Just touch me, and I can grasp the wizard's revelation sweeping me inside the curtain. And I say, yes, now I can see. It frees me from my lonely, claustrophobic chrysalis, enlarging the narrow space of my life, taming my wildness, making wild my timidity. I feel secure within this beautiful vastness of sea and shore, religious, without a God to trust. Your touch marks me with its small scar. Its root elicits transformations, already drawing calming to disruptions ahead. So safe within, I feel communal, ready to go out. Oh, let's end on a lighter note. You know the custom, strange custom, when somebody sneezes, we all rush and say, bless you, God bless you. Strange custom when you think about it. Years ago it started when it was believed that if you sneezed, you expelled your soul. So it was our duty to help whoever sneezed recover his soul. So that's how it started. Anyway, so here I am in my classroom. Students are taking a test. Somebody sneezes, and they manage to have time to lift up their heads and say, God bless you. Really means God bless you. God bless you. Only minutes left, and yet students lift their heads from a test to say, bless you, to a sneezer. Drifting at my desk, I wonder why there is no bless you for coughs, or coitus, flatulence, or mouthing off, when each, like a sneeze, is a spraying out, through which it was believed your soul left your body to fend on its own unholiness. Did they think the soul left only through the nose? Then what's the upshot of having two nostrils? That could lead to divided souls. Lots of expelled, divided souls, free floating, unblessed in the universe alone. I hate to think some poor sneezer or wheezer was left a soulless teaser because I was the sole unblessing bystander, distracted in my garden from my tie to this passerby during rose cold or hay fever, flu, spore, smog, or whatever season for sneezing. And I must confess, as a teen atheist, I took an oath of non-blessing, seeing the quick fix, knee-jerk comment at a reflexive sneeze has no skin off the blesser's nose, while the charlatan in sheepskin blessing of Good Samaritan often slide away at the slightest personal jeopardy. So a cheap bless you was just hypocrisy. Loafing at ease, I invited my sneeze by looking up at the sun to release a little tickle in my nose this morning and hoped the approaching stranger said nothing, made no requests for divine favor to re-invite my soul, that I conceive in a civ universe shaky still. Silently, he waited till he could look directly at me, and then he said, God bless you. I almost said thank you. I knew the routine, but then I saw into his eyes. So I blessed him too. Why wait for a sneeze? Thank you all so much.
Thank you so much, Gayl, for that. Now, Maggie's not here, but she's on Zoom, and we're going to go to her right now. Maggie Bloomfield.
Hi, everybody. Wish I could be there with you. Gayl, that was absolutely wonderful. And I want to thank everybody for their support. My husband is getting better, but very slowly. And next month I shall be there. I want to introduce my good friend who's going to feature next. He is a member of our Poetry Street family. He is the host of his own poetry venue, which hopefully he will tell you about. And I am happy to have Russ Green sharing with us this afternoon. So let's welcome him.
I'm going to go ahead and read his bio because it's impressive. First of all, I'd like to say Russ is on our film, Poetry Street on the Road, which is our first film, and he is an incredible man. I love seeing him perform. He's a great guy, so here's the bio. Over the years, Russ Green has been co-editor at Great Weather for Media, put on poetry and arts events around Long Island and New York City, and has raised funds through some of these events for humanitarian and social justice organizations such as Tahare Justice Center, and that's an incredible center for women that really help women, the Trevor Project, and the earthquake victims in Nepal. Additionally, Russ hosted and curated poetry stages and various festivals and has read his work from New York City to New Orleans, Cleveland, Santa Fe, and cities in between. His book, Give Me Back My Radio, is out with Night Ballet Press. Currently, he runs a monthly workshop with poet Christina M. Rao, who is an incredible poet. Oh my gosh, she gives me chills. That's not inspired, that's just my hand. But it's called South Bay Sundays, and also hosts and curates poetry and music events in Port Jefferson called Saturdays on the Sound. You can usually find him communing with the mountains in Vermont with interesting artist friends or roaming the docks of Port Jefferson Harbor at night looking for signs of light in the starry night skies. Ladies and gentlemen, this incredible poet, Russ Green.
You're too sweet.
Only the
I
truth.
don't know if I'm deserving of all that praise. you've ever seen me displaying my road rage during work, you're like, that guy?
Get behind the wheel.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Chip. Thank you, Maggie, wherever you are, you're in the wall. Hello, Maggie in the wall. Hello, Nina. Hello, Judy. Hello, everybody. Oh my God, there's people on the wall. This is the time that we're in. Hello, all. You're amazing. I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to make it through all the farm stand traffic. I forgot about that. I was like, yeah, just, you know, have a nice, beautiful drive, whip right out to Riverhead from Sound Beach. No, there's all the farm stand traffic. Yes, so here I am. So this is why I missed the first few lines of your reading. Sorry about that. Anyway, okay. Interesting times we're living in. Makes you feel like we're privileged to live where we are. So I have a bunch of poems, old and new, with a range of topics. We're going to start with one that probably my most recent poem, or maybe second to most recent, that I wrote for a beautiful event that I was invited to read and participate in for a sculpture garden in the woods in Belport. It's like right on the border of Belport, like the hamlet of Brookhaven. And it's a piece of land that's was, I think, purchased jointly by a bunch of people in the area, including the actress Isabella Rossellini, who has an organic farm right next door to it. And so they married us up with sculptures. And we were to write a poem based on the sculpture in the woods. And mine were these beautiful flowers. They look like daffodils. These daffodils, the ones I'm thinking of. Anyway, these beautiful white flowers on these poles in the woods. It's quite a look. Anyway, so I'm going to start off with a poem that I wrote for that, and then take on a journey from there. And thank you so much, Chip, Maggie, and everybody involved for having me. All right, I'm going to shut up now. I'm going to start with Ryder, and I should say just.
Yeah, read the poem.
The turning. The sculptor led me down the path to a dark wood on a hillside. Rose half a dozen white thin crosses that weren't meant to be crosses, but poles that happened to be in the shape of crosses because that's what was needed to hold the big metal flowers. Turning in the wind, pinwheel, petals, a gift to the trees. Early girl looked on from neighboring woodland just a few yards away beyond the transparent wire fence where the legendary actress has her organic farm. It was called Early Girl Farms. And how the season turned and the wheels answered the wind and the trees rustled and bowed to the flowers, celebratory swirling of South Shore currents of air meandering through leaves. We are grateful for the preservation of this land, community, joining hands among these holy paths to save her from the bulldozers, and the big white flowers continue proudly, defiantly, turning hope to the wind. Breathe. This is an old poem. I'm untangling the past in nighttime stillness with Pandora's box lying under ferns of a fearsome interpersonal jungle. I couldn't see what feet had tread here. The rains had come and washed away footprints coagulated into mud. I released my grip on the chunk of granite curled in my hand, soothed by the running of relentless water. Memories of digging for hours in my best and only friend's backyard, just trying to make it to the next level of earth, always hoping to find water. Granite is made of several types of rock mashed together by the pressure of the inner earth, among them cave feldspar, the sweet parts of the conglomeration. Bright pink spots of joy peeking out from even the roughest earth. That's where the gods and goddesses are found. The lump in the throat when life gets so heavy. Truth rock lodged right there in the center of the neck where it can't be ignored. It's the shaky voice, truth lodged against the voice box. But every experience vibrates waves of trauma the world has offered me, and I have accepted or not. Eat the arrow before it's launched, its perception. Einstein told us that just before he combed his hair, his wife thinking she'd witnessed the impossible. Buddhist monks, weeks of working on colorful creations of delicate sand and splendor, they wipe it all away.
The book of life is brief.
It is. Right. Yeah, it's all about the impermanence. You ever notice like the most brilliant people like probably comb their hair? I don't know. Maybe I'm smarter than what I think I am. Smooth stones. I think a little more serious. This was inspired by someone named Maggie, because it's inspired unimaginable things in her childhood. But it's an issue that needs to be addressed. Up until recently, she was teaching yoga actually in Rutgers prison. I want to start a summer camp for names no one knows. I want to start a summer camp for the unfairly accused, abused, imprisoned, used. For those who have not read The Fear of Flying, the alchemy of feathers fused for flight from umbilical cords of father fear, mother fear, fear of who's lying next to you in your bed. The minister, the sinister, the cavernous chambers of beating and pumping blood into the seeing of things that cannot be unseen, the unimaginable numbers who are springing into the slipstream of societal consciousness, where the Anarchy Lucases of the world are telling their stories of the unspeakable, satanic sex slave survivor, children sprung from cages in the morning dew, bearing hieroglyphs of permanent scars reflected off the dawn, trees wringing their hands at the horizon asking why. Answers whispered from rivulets lapping on their small wooden footbridges saying, come home. Smooth stones of forgiveness lying the bed of the brook like a warm, comforting blanket of sighs. This is something I wrote about, well, it was early last spring for New York City poet who actually read for me last weekend for Jeff. I wrote this for that event. And the reasons for reading it now are obvious. I'll say before I read it that I stand with no government. I don't care if it's Israeli, Palestinian, Ukrainian, Russian, US government, you name it. British government. I really do not stand with any of them. I stand with the civilians, the regular people of every society. They're the ones that are caught in the crossfire and pay the ultimate price. Always. These people who perpetrate these international crimes are never the ones that do.
They're blurring rich people. That's what
they're never the
they
injured
don't follow, and they get everybody else.
It's never their children
Sorry.
being sent off.
Sorry.
Nope. All good. All right. Shireen Abu Akleh, her press vest on, helmet on, Jenin refugee camp, Israeli attack. She shot footage and got shot in the face for looking genocide in the face, remember her face, remember her name, Shireen Abu Akleh. Legendary Palestinian-American Al Jazeera reporter Shireen Abu Akleh was binge watching Netflix just the week before, curled up on the couch with her niece in the old city of Jerusalem. Her niece looked up to her as the cool aunt. Israeli police in riot gear beat the pallbearers carrying the casket of Shireen Abu Akleh. Jen Psaki said the Biden administration is, quote, deeply disturbed by the attack on Shireen Abu Akleh's funeral procession. Jen Psaki said the administration will, quote, provide assistance if needed. Thanks, Jen Psaki. I'm sure the family of Shireen Abu Akleh feels better now. Arab News headline. British musician Roger Waters this week paid tribute to the late Palestinian journalist Shireen Abu Akleh during his New York concert. The journalist's name appeared on the concert screens with the words, her crime, being Palestinian, her punishment, death. You hear loud sounds on the TV, wild-eyed gunshot, kick back on your couch and smoke your hot bloodshot eyes on your iPod. Pile of pills sits next to your bills. Your girlfriend left you in the parking lot. It's an illusionary world every time that flag's unfurled. You're worried about Iran or some kind of stand. Glenn Beck's Rentenbeck conspiracy nuts. You think, you read, you analyze, find out the so-called experts are a bunch of dumb. We're in a library. You can't afford a doctor. You go to the airport. Right there at security, get a full report, free x-ray, breast exam, a whole panoply, mention Al-Qaeda, get a colonoscopy. When the money stops flowing past the tips of your feet, the blood stops flowing past the tips of your feet, you become so comfortably numb. Wake up and listen to the tune of the First Nation people of Saskatoon. It's so simple, man. There's no magic wand. Do what they do in Saskatchewan. Go the way of Earth. Keep a healthy thirst for the truth. The truth. The truth is just trying to survive on the back roads of America. The back roads.
I know, we live here, right?
Fire song, another old one. Fire in the belly of the one-man relief army in Gatlinburg. This is written right during the fires in Gatlinburg, Tennessee, if you remember that. It could apply to a lot of places in the world right now, including behind them. Fire in the wounds of the locals who fled the burning hills and hollers of those in the Tennessee towns. Fire won't ask you who you voted for before it consumes everything you knew. Fire won't ask you why you had no desire to run from the flames. Fire won't ask you about the cutting on your forearms and legs. It won't ask you about the childhood scars that cut so deep into your emotional cavity that you can't trust the burning embers of that longed-for first kiss. Fire in the words of the digital battleground. Civility and kinship charred among the remains. Fire won't ask you about the rocks in your stomach that won't allow you to eat after your best friend turned his back on you, leaving you curled up and weeping for days at the end of that broken down old fishing dock where you used to write poems together on Sundays. Fire on the tongue of the construction worker who sang folk songs in Detroit while nobody knew, but for a whole country of South Africa. That's Rodriguez. And they all turned him into an anti-apartheid art icon. Guitar picked fingernails in the working man's wheel with the dust and soot of that city pulsing down and through his capillaries. A song about a teenager having sex that sparked a revolution. Fire in the streets of a bed-in in Montreal lasting 2 whole weeks just to try to give peace a goddamn chance. The image singed with the memory of gunfire splitting open the Upper West Side night. Fire in every syllable of a civil rights savior come to Memphis to stand with the sanitation workers. Fire that still burns through the words of Maya, Ta-Nehisi, and Michelle. Fire in the thin bones of a liberator making his own salt from the sea, in the restless hands of the nun in Calcutta, and the fire dancers' visions of commingling cultures, creating a world without collisions. Fire in the feet of the marching protesters on Fifth Avenue building their tower of song for the South Shore social workers and teachers, singers, and salutatorians, marine biologists too late to save the washed up whale on the beach of the South Fork of this divided island, and the burning need to stick a fork in both forks of that overdone East End white privilege, chants for the word mavens telling it slant. That's Norman Dickinson, ripoff. Fire in the third chakra on a yoga mat in Killington, channeling the chi, the life force, balancing the breath into hope. One more, okay. Sorry, I'm running over.
That's all right. That's all right. I don't mind.
I'm gonna end with something happy. Okay,
Yes.
so we're on the cusp of Thanksgiving. We have Halloween first. I've always been more into Thanksgiving than Halloween. But I salute all you Halloweeners, including the coffin bracers. I don't know what to make of that.
You gotta see it. You should see it.
I'll tell you.
Next year.
This is about spending Thanksgiving a few years ago out in Montauk at my good friend and fellow poet, who many of you know, Kelly J. Powell. I went out to her sisters in Montauk for Thanksgiving one year. And it's called Montauk. She knew a shortcut from the moon. She took the back way. She gave pennies for poems and sharpened pencils on an old schoolroom crank. There were 30 of them in her bag at any given time, and they were all sharp enough to pierce the heart of a bug-killing cord. There were Malbecs in Montauk with her family and 3 different kinds of potatoes, because there was a potato war in the kitchen between her sister and her in-law, true story. The surfers rode waves projected on the wall over the roaring Thanksgiving fireplace, hip-hop banana rock on the beach with the niece dancing and singing in great-grandma's fur-lined coat, tours of the abandoned World War II German hunting radar installation with the nephew. Grandma set up house with us in the big old manor on the hill. Montauk Manor, it's a great place if you haven't been there. It was 20-something degrees with a wind chill of minus ridiculous blowing off the Great Peconic Bay, enough to stick a fork into fold between those 2 big forks and fork over a gravy boat full of winter. We had a delicate sense of the raw salt wind breathing heavy into wounds, and don't you know, the womb is made of chi. That's the Chinese word for life energy, and it was there bleeding out of every poor hustle of broccoli, bread, cranberry, and crouton that any ocean would have been hanging onto by the thinnest of threads. It was about this time that the relevance of the clean, clear communication between the water's edge and the falling leaf was becoming undeniable. The genuineness of endings and beginnings was inimitable as a summer swan dive into family sing-alongs on car rides along the Connecticut River. The sanguine sequence of falling mercury sent shivers down an already traumatized spine, and the gulls gathered on the sea rocks hardly noticed. They were flapping their feathers in time with the wayward wind of knowing with Robin's Island looking on. Thank you.
Russ, before you leave, I want you to come back.
Okay.
I want you to come back. I want you to tell us about your open mic.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. I rambled on so long. Thank you for remembering that.
Yes.
South Bay Sundays. It happens at the Curry Club restaurant in the Schooner Room. And I'm sorry, South Bay Sundays is my workshop. It's Saturdays on the Sound. It happens in the Schooner Room at Curry Club on a Saturday, hence the name. We've been kind of jumping around Saturdays. The next one's going to be, I think, the 25th, Thanksgiving weekend. We're eventually going to change it to the second Saturday because I'm trying to not conflict with Maggie's reading. Maggie's this way, actually. I'm trying not to conflict with Maggie's reading and also another friend who does a thing on the 3rd. So anyway, but the next one will be on Thanksgiving weekend, Saturday, 25th. And my workshop is South Bay Sundays. That happens at the same place on Sunday. Thank you, Chip.
You're welcome. Give it up for Russ, everyone. And again, that's one, Back Roads is on the film Poetry Street on the Road. And that's on our website, poetrystreetontheroad.com. Our next poet is Linda Bullock. She's retired but still active healthcare worker and a Riverhead native. Linda wrote and read a fabulous poem for her brother, Bubby Brown, at Poetry Street and has been writing ever since. She has embraced both poetry and the stage, having narrated Breakout, a play in poetry and prose written by and performed by Susan Dingle and Maggie Bloomfield, most recently in September at the James Ford Reading House. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome this lovely lady, Linda.
Thank you so much. I am thrilled and honored to have been asked to speak to you this afternoon. And one of the things that I fell in love with Poetry Street about is because you're so open to everyone. I'm in the midst of published authors, I'm in the midst of Emmy Award winners, and then there's me. So thank you so much. Thank you so much. About 10 years ago, when Poetry Street was in its beginnings, I was encouraged to come. And I had the feeling that there would be beatniks and finger snapping and all of this and smoky rooms. Much to my surprise, that was not the case. And I went, I enjoyed, and I went home and I wrote this poem. And it's called Novice. I get it when poetry doesn't rhyme. I get it when there's no syncopated time. I get when I perceive a beginning and an ending. I get all of that. It's not my inventing. But there are some poets who use ink and pen, and I wonder where their lives have been. It's true that there's a poem in every life story. In some of those lives, there seems to be little glory. I realize I'm a novice at this new thing, but I pray that my life has some joy to bring. Am I too shallow? Are they too deep? Are they playing with a full deck or just with my sight? Like I said, I'm new at this, and I'm sure my mind is sane. So how you respond to what I said will determine if I come back again. Breathe. My inspiration for this was a fuzzy-minded cabin fever day during COVID. Breathe. My eyes open to a brand new day. I breathe and I give thanks for all things. For life, for health, for family and friends, and for whatever this day brings. My to-do list flashes in my brain. Make calls, write letters, clean the bathroom again, order groceries or go out. I still have to make the list. The phone rings and halts my train of thought. Okay, who can this be? Will I smile or will I cringe when I check the caller ID? I breathe and I give thanks for all things and for whatever this day brings. I'm thankful for the stressful calls, as unpleasant as they may be. I'm thankful for the cheerful calls for those just calling to check on me. The hills and valleys of my day, I have grown to understand that if I smile or if I cringe, it's all in my life's plan. For life, for health, for family and friends, and for all the to-do lists too. For if it were not for these things, what would there be to do? As I give thanks for all blessings, whether seen and unseen, I realize that if not for these things, I would have no reason to breathe. Jiva, inspired by my maturing grandson. The eye roll tells me that it bugs you when I mention the maintenance of your hair. The heavy sigh tells me that it bugs you when I observe your underwear. To you, I'm old-fashioned and don't understand the fashions of today's youth. But keep in mind that I've been around, and here's a simple truth. I want the world to see you as I see you through my eyes. I want the world to see you that you're much more than just one of the guys. First impressions may hamper a future endeavor of what you want to be. So be confident in your choices of what you want the world to see. All things matter in this world. I hope you understand how important it is to stand as a man. It's my job as G-Ma to tell you what I think is best, and it's up to you to ponder these things and figure out the rest. All this advice I offer with love, and one day it may be that every time you trim your hair, you will think of me. Mercy. This was inspired by a group of poets called the Psalmists. They came to our church and gave a demonstration and said to write about something that you love. Write about it. So I'm going to take you to church. I hope you understand and hope there's no problem with that. It's called Mercy. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. His mercy endureth forever. Blessed assurance, Jesus is mine. Oh, what a foretaste of glory divine. His mercy endureth forever. Pass me not, O gentle Savior. Hear my humble cry. His mercy endureth forever. God is a good God. God don't ever change. His mercy endureth forever. I'm amazed how you love me. I'm amazed how you care. His mercy endureth forever. Holy, 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 Lord God Almighty. His mercy endureth forever. Jesus, keep me near the cross. There a precious fountain, free to all a healing stream, flows from Calvary's mountain. His mercy endureth forever. For the Lord God omnipotent reigneth. Hallelujah. His mercy endureth forever. Wow. Woo. Inspiration for this piece was from an older sibling, and it's called Fireflies. The little girl asks, who was that boy who left the house and slammed the door? He's the one who likes playing marbles with his friends at the bare spot on the ground at our front door. The teenage girl asks, who is that guy that loves music and writes poetry? He works hard, he plays hard, he sings in the church choir, he has a caring heart. The young adult lady asks, who is the man who loves so freely? He tries so hard to please those around him. He gives his time, energy, and talent to help noble causes. He sees the beauty in areas and people in a world that many others consider outcast and unworthy. The adult woman asks, who is this man who has committed his life to serve others? One who cares deeply and loves with his whole heart and one who can also inject humor, even in the most doleful conversations. The mature adult woman can answer the questions. The boy who slammed the doors, played with marbles, the guy who loved music, poetry, the hard worker, the one who loves freely, the one who lends his talent and gives his time, the one who sees beauty in a sometimes ugly world. That boy, that guy, that man is my brother, my friend. Through it all, through all the stages of his life, and through all the afflictions he may still endure, he has peace of mind, body, and soul, and can be at ease and marvel at the light of fireflies on a summer night. I have one more that I would like to read from my new favorite person, Langston Hughes. It's my new hero. And it's called Life is Fine. I went down to the river. I sat down on the bank. I tried to think but couldn't. So I jumped in and sank. I came up once and hollered. I came up twice and cried. If that water hadn't have been so cold, I might have sunk and died. But it was cold in that water. It was cold. I took the elevator, 16 floors above the ground. I thought about my baby and thought I might jump down. I stood there and I hollered. I stood there and I cried. If it hadn't been so high, I might have jumped and died. But it was high up there. It was high. So since I'm still here living, I guess I will live on. I could have died for love, but for living, I was born. Though you may hear me holler, and you may see me cry, I'll be dog, sweet baby, if you're gonna see me die. Life is fine. Fine is wine. Life is fine.
Wow, let's give it up again for Linda Bullock. I'd like to thank all of our features. So I was fortunate to be invited to Queens College to speak to a class about poetry. I was so happy to introduce poetry to them, to some of them, and some of them did know about poetry. And I told them poetry is in everyone. And so we did a community forum, took a page from your book, J.R. Turk and Maggie, and I said, well, just write a line about what you're feeling now. And I'd like to share their community forum. We are suffering. Is everyone their own true self, or are we all turtles hiding in our shells? Life is like a roller coaster. We are trapped by the chains of the never-ending pain. Self-love is the best love. Life is like a box of chocolate. When we're drained, we want to stop, but the world won't stop for us. The intricate lifestyle of a pragmatic optimist, a house cat tiptoeing through labyrinths of alleys, searching for the light of the main road. As I sit here and ponder, I came up with various ways my mind runs. As the day goes on, I slowly let the exhaustion take me in. Let's give it up for the Queens College. Our best group, members Camarino, MJ, and Gregory Petershak. Thank you so much for allowing me to come in and share with your students. And speaking of the community, but we like to say thank you to this library, the Riverhead Free Public Library, to the staff here, Patrick and Fatima. So now we're going to go into the open mic, and we have to start with the mayor of poetry, the purple poet herself, who's everywhere.
Thank you, Chip. Thank you, features. Absolutely wonderful. Praying Maggie, thank you. Thank you, Claire. Always standing by and getting us through. So this is a pre-Halloween poem. So I won't be reading tomorrow. So here we go. The eve of Halloween, with apologies to Clement Clark Moore. 'Twas the night before Halloween, and all around town little children dreamed of tomorrow as each bedded down. Costumes spread out in anticipation of wearing, with hopes of many treats and lots less scaring. There were Batman, Spider-Man, and Superman capes, skeletons, goblins, and ghost-like wraiths. Pretty pink princess dresses with sparkly shoes, kings and queens bedecked in crown jewels. Ready for giving a bowl brimming with candy that every local dentist would think was just dandy. I climbed into bed. Paul started to snore when just past midnight, a knocking on the door. I crept down the stairs, peeked through the glass, fell back emitting a Halloween gasp. For there on the porch, wreathed in mist, a green-faced gargoyle spit and hissed. Give me your candy, give me all you've got. Lollipops, gum, chocolate bars, the lot. Hand it over, it's Halloween now. Do it, or I'll curse you, I vow. I gave him the bowl he dumped in a bag. His slimy sewage breath made me gag. He bowed from the waist, gaped an eerie grin, and putting his finger on the mole on his chin, blinked 3 times, turned lightning fast, and a puff of orange smoke, he was gone in a blast. I climbed back to bed, Paul muttered good night. I pounded my pillow and turned off the light, set the alarm for early to get to the store, to fill that empty bowl with candy and more. When morning light filtered through my lids, I swore I heard the knocking of little kids. A dreadful cackling sound echoed up the stairs. I jumped out of bed, frozen beneath Paul's stare. How did you eat all that candy last night? You didn't leave the kids a single bite. It wasn't me, I stammered in fright. It was the ogre troll that was here last night. Paul looked at me sardonically. Oh, sure, and I guess he left the wrappers on the floor. The rug was covered in front of the couch. How they got there, I swear I couldn't vouch. Then I recalled the parting words of the fiend. Get ready for a trick and happy Halloween. Thank you.
All right, that's my Halloween bath. That's all I got. Thank you so much, JR. Gladys Henderson is one of the mothers of Poetry Street, and she's also on our film, Poetry Street, Won the Road. And I'm going to ask Gladys to please read or say something at this time. If you can unmute, please, Gladys.
Am I hearing you, my friend? I'm so sorry. I have the camera now, waving at everyone, and thank God for Virginia and a wonderful thing at Shelter Island that you would like to see and hear, and maybe she'll tell you a little bit more about that. But wonderful. Anyway. I thought of this poem because of the role playing in it, and I just wanted to say, oh my goodness, once again, a fabulous reading of the 3 readers, and the orchestration of them and how they sounded were just wonderful, and it's wonderful. Thank you for that. Girl in the attic. Girl in the Attic. She dresses herself with mothballed garments. She stands in front of the mirror, curtsies, bows, stretches tall, stomach pulled in, a ballerina with fingers in her mouth, lips pulled wide. She makes fluttering noises with her tongue. She laughs at the sound and with a scolding finger rebukes the image that looks back at her, only to laugh again when it sticks out its tongue. Some days she is a hobo, burned cork smudged on cheek and chin, her father's old hat and shirt loose on her. She thumbs a ride with her hip jutting out to the imaginary road. On other days, she marches across the attic with her broom gun and Uncle Fred's ammo belt and kills as many of the enemy as she can before Mother calls her to come down to the supper table. Yesterday, she was a Mexican ballet dancer, rose clenched between her teeth, castanets clacking in her unpracticed but sincere hands. She stopped the linoleum floor in her duende moves somewhere between flamenco and the polka. The pretends were all her friends, spent time with her, thought she was clever. They all considered her beautiful and looked back at her with gratitude for giving them life. One day, they all disappeared. She was utterly alone, except for her image in the mirror, which had very little to say. Without the pretends, there would be no friends, no one to talk with. She left her house and walked down the street, began to speak to strangers. She imagined the ballerina, the soldier, the street dancer, and everyone who spoke to, and envisioned they thought of her as beautiful, as they also thought of them. All of them midwives for her birthing, the attic, the mirror that both imprisoned her and set her free.
Thank you so much for that. We really appreciate you. Now we're going to come back to here at the Free Public Library in Riverhead and ask Cleveland Washington to come up and read. This is his first time, so let's give him a warm welcome.
Watling.
Watling. Okay, thank you.
All right, let's see here.
I see you at the rightest thing. You at the rightest thing.
Not here.
No. Sorry.
I'm everywhere.
Oh, and hello to the wall. Let's see, where'd it go? It's called The Candle. The candle on my desk is all hope, a small flame struggling, singing its faint song to dark ceiling and walls. It will burn on till the end, faintly leaving, as the evening builds to infinities of night, and creatures emerge to scour the darkening alleys, and drunk women leap against brick walls and remember, and cold winds slide among the tombs of the dead. The dark night will summon the strange face of the world. As day's weapons slide from our hands, a great sigh rises. Intentions die and give rise to a landscape of souls that linger by trees, watching with soft white eyes, passive,
mysterious, cloying Dixie hands of light aflame in manifold burstings betwixt the empatronings of stars, and looming branches dark as shadowed soul, the grass, the cool ocean sighing for ecstatic reality. But there is no reality in night's soft paradox, and the candle burns with sweet confidence in defiance of it all, knowing that life at its core is that imperturbable hopefulness, with a few slender strands of light thrown prayerfully to the wall.
Thank you so much, Julia. Please come back. We really appreciate that. Next, we're going to ask Debbie Peterson. Peterson, please come. And this is her first time here, so let's give it up for Debbie.
Hi, everybody. Hi. Paul. So I'm excited to be here, a little nervous. So a couple things. One, I was going to read, I graduated from Marquette High School in 1982. And I had found poems that I wrote back in 1980. I was going to read that first. I had them published at the Riptide. I used to write for the high school paper. But after I heard your poem about Jima, this is just a little poem I wrote for my middle son. Please don't tell me what to wear. Do not judge me by my hair. You have no idea who I truly am. You've never given me a chance to show you I'm a kind-hearted, caring young man. Beneath the surface of my appearance you clearly don't like, I ask what it would take to make things just right. I am happy for having the strength to be me. It's your loss, not mine. You are blind and can't see. Talk about so many people judge other people and don't give them a chance to get to know who they truly are. So this I wrote in 1980. The storm. As the sky became obscure, one could sense that an intimidating storm was on the way. The limp branches extending from the durable tree trunk had started to sway from side to side, as though a child had been swinging on the fragile boughs. In the distance, one could see the flash of lightning, followed by faint, rumbling sounds. As the flashes became brighter and the sounds became louder, the rain had started to descend from the sky. As the time passed, the rain had ceased, leaving a damp smell in the air. The clouds began to separate like the dark massive curtains, opening up to a brilliant blue background, with the radiant spotlight dazzling to the below.
Thank you so much, Debbie, and please come back. Poetry Street is all of ours, everyone here is welcome. So we're gonna go to Zoom land and we're gonna ask her Walsey to please read and then Jen Mara.
Okay, here we go. October 17, 1973. Sharp clouds have finished shearing the sun's long silver locks. Trees shed leaves that drop like tears. All day, the west wind blew around dead leaves, people's hair, and my scattered thoughts. The early evening's pale look is like my own. Even Polbrook is sere and polluted like I've been all year. Finally, to escape my mood, I enter Sachem Public Library. I'm hoping study's monotone will help. While wandering among pulpwood rows, I find nothing nourishing to gather. I'm poisoned from each root this grove has grown. Despite all that, I choose an Arthur Waley and a Kenneth Rexroth Chinese poetry anthology and sit down. Suddenly, a woman approaches. She works here. While putting away a book, she turns a moment and smiles for me. I know her too well. A few weeks ago, I told her that I love her and want to be more than friends. She said no. Soon, forgetting thoughts and books, I look with little tact to the luxury of her beauty, her gold brown hair, the color of harvest fields, her thick eyebrows arched like ancient Chinese bridges over her round brown eyes, her sunny smile, small white teeth, and full red lips, and last but not least, her short, finely curved figure. She's dressed in brown shoes, brown pants, and a black turtleneck with a red and yellow striped flannel shirt over it. She's unaware she settles the 10,000 winds of madness that unbalance me. She's unaware her round brown eyes wear away my granite gloom. She never knew the great joy she gave to me. During those many days, she spoke of everything from Frida Kahlo, Aaron Copland, Li Qingzhao, James Baldwin, Einstein, and God to whether there'd be rain. Though I didn't always agree, her mellifluous voice and words consoled me. She never wanted to hear her sunny smile fills my cold life with warmth. About an hour later, while I'm still sailing through constellations found only in dreams, she turns to face the clock. It tells her it's time to leave. I tell her that in 3 days I'm leaving for California, 3,000 miles from here. She smiles, says goodbye to me, then walks away. That moment glows like a novid sun. Thank you.
Now, before Jen comes forward, I just want to tell you a little about Jen. Jen is one of the sweetest people on the planet, I'm sure of. And she's also one of our former features of Poetry Street, and you can see her videos on poetrystreetontheroad.com. Ladies and gentlemen, Jen Morrow.
Hi. Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So I like to write a poem every month to come here. And I'm usually in person, but I had surgery this month. I'm home recovering. I didn't have a chance. And so I wrote this morning. I want to consider it a draft. Am I able to share my screen? Because somebody did that last month and I thought it was wonderful to read along. So yes. I'm gonna.
Yes.
Yeah, I can. Okay.
Yes.
I'm gonna give that a shot. Wait, and hopefully I don't open up anything really embarrassing. Okay, so this is called, I'm scared. Okay, this is called Because I Don't Have My Father's Nose. Because I pass, I teach in class temptation. Because I pass, I can teach in class Genesis. When I have told in the past, students found me blasphemous. Swastikas drawn on desks at my son's school, then excused in an op-ed in the news. Swastikas drawn on desks at my son's school, then an op-ed in the news excused this as just some teen. I called the editor. Write a response, she said. No, no, I said. I don't want a swastika on my front door. I don't tell, I told her. This worldly woman did not know we hide and hurt from hate. Because I don't have my father's nose, I pass. Because my name does not end with Stein or Berg, I pass. Sadly, for this, I have always been grateful.
Wow. Yep.
Powerful piece. Thank you so much. I'm going to take one more for now from Zoom land. We're going to ask Nina and Gayl to please speak. Thank you so much, Jim. Nina? And I see you, Virginia.
Okay. Thank you all. The speeches were wonderful. And thank you, Chip. I'm going to read a poem. It's funny, I picked this out this morning and I didn't realize that it was for a friend who passed away on November 17th, 10 years ago. It just happened to fall into my hands, synchronicity. It's called Fishing. Dear friend, this morning at dawn, you gave up the long struggle, your body tired, your mind ravaged. Turning from grief, I remembered your feisty stance, the embrace of laughter, the light of our younger days, like that day of fishing we had on a black steaming lake, a morning of sausages and eggs, buttered English muffins, orange juice thick with pulp. Oh, and how we hooked those wriggling worms clear through, defying death, as if we knew what would come of our hope. The feel of the rod tilting straight down, pulled like a 20-pound bass on the line. But all we caught were spiny little sunfish who twitched and danced for their lives. I can feel that summer day, the scent of honeysuckle, how you curved your steady hand so carefully around one of them, pulled the hook from her throat like a surgeon, leaving no scar, placed her precisely into the lake as she shook off your touch and plunged into the depths, whole again. We laughed, anxious for bigger game. Our muddied fingers pulled more worms from their tangle in the can. Day drifted to evening. Sun moved below mountains and lake, edge of sky. There was nothing left to catch but moonlight, the swarms of mosquitoes which dove around us. We threw the worms to phantom fish, folded up our rods, careful to secure the hooks, and walked back. Excuse me. Walked back among the ghostly trees, the croaking frogs, safe in the womb of night. Thank you.
Wow. Fabulous.
Nina is also one of our mothers.
Fabulous.
And she's featured on the film Portrait Street on the Road. Thank you so much for that, Nina. We're going to come back here to the River here, Free Public Library, and ask Warren McKnight to please read.
All right, we'll read.
Okay.
The only thing I gotta say is poets like you and everybody else, because I'm not, I've never considered myself a poet, but you actually like earthquakes in the world, shake the souls, everybody, and change everything. And I'm going to tell you about a poet that just did the same thing. This poet was poor all his life. He didn't have a dime. All he had was a broken down guitar. His name was Woody Guthrie. And he just, during the 1930s, he just hopped freight train, got to know the hobos. And when he went out to the farm workers, the fields all over the country, he gave them hope and told them to organize. And people would come by, the owners and the police would actually beat him and everything else. And he could have made millions of dollars with his songs. He said he like one of his, I think the greatest song he wrote is we call the second national anthem. I call it the real national anthem of this country. This land is your land. So that's Woody Guthrie. And he was born 1912 and he passed away in 1965. And he had this disease called Huntington's disease. It affects the mind. It's almost like Parkinson's, but it's passed on every generation. So I'd like to compose this poem of his about hobos, and it's called The Hobo's Lullaby. And I'll do it like the troubadours would do. You know, I'm not going to strum my throat. Well, go to sleep, my weary hobo. Let the clouds roll swiftly by. Can't you hear those steel rails humming? Oh, that's a hobo's lullaby. Well, don't you worry about tomorrow. Let tomorrow come and go, because tonight you're in a safe, warm boxcar, safe from all the wind and snow. I know the police called you trouble. They cause trouble everywhere. But when you die and go to heaven, there ain't going to be any policemen there. Though your clothes are torn and ragged, and I can see your hair is turning gray. Lift your face and smile like the sunshine and troubles. You'll find peace and rest someday. So go to sleep, you weary hobo. Let the time slip slowly by. Can't you hear those steel wheels coming? 'Cause that's a hobo's lullaby.
Right, morning. Thank you so much. Keep it up one more time. Morning. That is one of my favorite people. It's just so awesome. And he wrote a poem called This Land or something like that. I don't know if he's going to read it today, but he won't read it today. He says he's shaking his head. But if you ever get a chance to hear him read it, it's just awesome. So you do have a chance because he's featured on Poetry Street on the Road. So just go on our website, Poetry Street on the Road, and you can see Bill do his poem about this land, Bill Batcher.
Wow.
Okay, this poem is longer than most. But if I read it fast, maybe I can get it done in 3 minutes. It's called 3 a.m. It's 3 a.m. Bill, it's walking on the stove, she cries out. I'm awake. She is not. She talks in her sleep. It's often a complaint, and always I am to blame. She shouts again. Bill, it's walking on the stove. I wait for an explanation. None comes. Only, Bill, it's walking on the stove. A third urgent iteration. Then silence. I contemplate the possibilities. Should it be on the stove, but not walking? Should it be walking, but not on the stove? Should it be neither on the stove nor walking? Whatever it is, the desperation in her tone implies it is unusual to be both on the stove and walking. It is perhaps a pot of chili, which had taken hours to prepare, what with peeling the tomatoes, chopping the peppers, discovering we were out of the required spices and necessitating a run to the store. Now, at 3 a.m., boiling hot, and about to commit carry by spreading feet and inching its way closer to the front of the stove, where it must be stopped before toppling forward onto the new Dura ceramic tile, which we only installed 2 years ago. Or was it 5? You lose track of time at 3 a.m. Of course, she cannot stop the suicidal plot herself, for she is in the middle of preparing a tossed salad, so she must point out to her sous chef in no uncertain terms, "Bill, it's walking on the stove." Or is it a shivering feral cat who, seeking warmth, had somehow entered our tightly shut home and was just hoping to curl up on the stove, which at 3 a.m. was still warm from the recent chili debacle, but was spotted by her who is ever vigilant for home invaders, now accusing whoever is near of leaving a door unlocked and ajar, and she cannot shoo the feline felon alone, for everyone knows it takes two to corral an uncooperative Maine Coon back outside where it belongs, though I don't understand why a Maine Coon would be shivering in the cold, as if that is the only mystery in this scenario. Or is it a toddler, a great-grandson we do not yet have, who, being creative like his great-grandfather, has cleverly managed to open the kitchen drawers to form a stairway up to the counter, where, avoiding the knives and the electric outlets, not to mention the bowl of hot chili, had crawled onto the stove, where he decided to stand and toddle, in which case, was she alerting me to save the kid from an inevitable fall? Or to find my cell phone and figure out at 3 a.m. how to video the moment of the baby's first steps of his young life to show his parents, who would post it on Facebook and keep it 16 years to embarrass the boy in front of his girlfriend. And here he is, walking on his grandmother's stove. Or is it an extraterrestrial alien, approximately 11 inches in height, with pale green complexion, large unblinking eyes, and no clothes, whose teletransporter had malfunctioned, and instead of beaming it to a nearby woods where it would encounter a man walking his dog at 3 a.m., a dog whose shrill bark would alert it to dematerialize before the man could develop a description that would satisfy the police, who had come because neighbors had heard the shrill bark and assumed a nocturnal burglar was prowling about. Or the UFO investigators would arrive 5 days later, but instead had beamed the creature into our kitchen, where its three-toed webbed feet were walking on the stove toward the pot of hot chili, to the dismay of my wife. Or is it a spider? For since she is a veritable Miss Muffet when it comes to spiders, having been known to call me from my desk while showering to attend to an 8-legged web spinner ascending the sliding frosted glass doors, or to dispose of a daddy longlegs who had appeared from behind the bookcase, preferably by flushing it down the toilet, but with several repeated flushes so as to prevent the wet, soggy arachnid from crawling its way back into her presence at an inopportune time. Seeing the spider walking on the stove at 3 a.m. is an almost rational explanation. Dawn arrives a few hours later, and sometime after that I deliver her morning coffee. Upon questioning, she has no memory of the thing walking on the stove at 3 a.m.
Thank you so much, Bill, for that. Virginia Walker is on Zoom, man. And Virginia, where are you from? Where are you now? You're muted. You can unmute.
Hi, can you hear me now?
Yes, thanks, Virginia. Where are you?
Yeah, I'm from Shelter Island.
Awesome. It's beautiful there. Love
Yes.
those huge trees.
Yes.
Well, welcome to Poetry Street.
Well, thank you. Gladys kept sending me invitations. I finally decided to come by. And there's so much loss going on in the world. I hope I'm excused for writing about more personal things. So here's a little poem.
Awesome.
Cousins ticking away. My cousin Joe died before COVID struck. He was my mother's sister's son. Glad we took him to dinner the year before. He was frail from a rheumatic heart. But still I was shocked. We had played together in grandfather's house in the 1950s. He would gift us with nylons at Christmas, I and my 4 sisters. My father acted as Joe's father after Joe's own father's death. Then my husband's cousin Bill, a tennis and golf player, slim and impulsive, died in front of his family of a stroke. His wife and I corresponded, and she sent pictures of times when they boated to our island. I was startled by our youth. Bill's father was the son of my husband's mother's brother, whose own father left them and their mother and disappeared only to return for a brief hello. Barbara, Joe's sister, called me a few times a year, the last I later learned, a few days before her fall, which at her age of 88 cracked her hip. I was a bridesmaid at her wedding, an April day when it snowed. We always could talk, and I can hear her soft laugh now. I'm glad Alex and I visited her in New Jersey a few years back. We spent the day with her and John, who still survives her inevitable death. Barbara spent time in a rehabilitation facility, and that was where her weakened heart failed. I wrote her son, my godchild, my memories of her, some consolation I hope for him. My last conversation with Barbara was about my successful search for the family of my great-aunt Araxi. I found her son George, a Yale professor of neuropsychology, and her deceased daughter's family, confirmed by Ancestry, I told Barbara. I hope to meet the found cousin a future day. Araxi's sister Zarawi also had children. One, Bob, 20 years my senior, I knew from trips to Cleveland. His death ended my visits. Her other son's children still correspond, and from what I learned, George used to borrow tools from my father, and that the professor was failing. Another email. George had died right after our ancestry nod. I spoke to a son of George's sister and learned more about his uncle. My husband and I called his cousin Jim a few times a year during COVID. We visited Jim and Jane the summer before COVID, a most enjoyable visit. When we called this past spring, we were invited to Jim's 98th birthday in June. Their son Dave, the conductor, often at the Met, where we saw him conduct twice, called us in May to give us the sad news. I liked Jim. He was intense, energetic, and knew how to make an honest buck. I helped my husband write up his memories of Jim for family, most rambling praise for a cousin 11 years older, expert with cars and business schemes. We went to the funeral home as we had done with my cousin Joe, and as with Joe, I was astonished at the children and grandchildren unknown. What is known? We have lost lives intricate to our own. We have lost connections of youth. We have lost years off our lives.
Thank you so much for that lovely poem. Thank you. All right, so we're going to come to the Free Riverhead Library and ask Susan Simmerant to please come and read. Susan! Yay! And then we'll come right back to you.
Well, thank you for welcoming me back again. I think this is maybe my 4th time.
and it's very privileged and humbled to be in the company of such great talent. So thank you so much. I wrote this after we met last month because I had come back from a camping trip. But this poem is based on a camping experience from 1999. And it's a lot of pages, but not because there's a lot of words, it's because I had to print it really big so I could sing. Okay, so it's called Grand Expectations for Camping on My Birthday. I had grand expectations for camping on my birthday, an autumn birthday, October, a majestic time of the year. Some women may choose to go to Hawaii, enjoy the balmy ocean breeze. Others, perhaps, Paris, a stroll along the Seine, a glass of Chateau Mouton at an open-air cafe. I chose camping. Mind you, I said camping, not glamping. I don't mean a 38-foot fifth-wheel camper with pop-out sides, a screened-in porch, a fully equipped kitchen, including a Keurig coffee maker, a stand-up shower, separate toilet, living room, a few bedrooms, 2 TVs, naturally air conditioning regulated by an app on a smartphone. I don't even mean a sleeping loft above the driver's seat. No, I mean camping. In a tent, close to Mother Earth, off-season, seclusion, solitude, serenity, at one with nature. I bring Mary Catherine, my little Jack Russell rescue I only had for 3 weeks. We'd rise with the sun, take long, invigorating walks in the woods, breathing in the crisp autumn air. I practice yoga by the beach, meditate under the tall pines, gaze up at the stars, locate Cassiopeia, maybe Orion's belt. Such grand expectations. I envisioned every detail. I'd fast for the 3 days, a juice concoction of kale, spinach, carrots, few apples, some ginger, a little bit of lemon, a total cleanse for body, mind, spirit. I was set. My little Honda Civic was packed to the brim. Air pump, altar batteries, D batteries, AA batteries, AAA batteries, beach chair, broom, bug spray, books, comb, deodorant, doormat, flashlight, garbage bags, hammer, inflatable mattress, incense holder, lanterns, mala beads, matches, pillows, paper towel, rake, sleeping bag, sweatpants, sweatshirt, socks, suntan lotion, face lotion, tent, tarps, tent stakes, thermoses of juice concoction, tissues, toilet paper, toiletries, toothbrush, toothpaste, travel size, towels, t-shirts, nightshirt, undergarments, outer garments, water, lots of it, water for drinking, hot water for washing, wipes, yoga mat, and Mary Catherine. I was on my way to celebrate my autumn birthday on the land of the mother, a woman, her dog, nature. Ah, I had grand expectations, but it rained. And it rained. There was no sun, no crisp autumn air, no yoga on the beach, no walk in the woods, no gazing at the stars. The calming pitter-patter of rain became a pounding, pummeling, lashing downpour. But I was cozy, comfy, snuggly in my little abode. Apparently Mary Catherine did not feel the same. She clawed, pawed, scraped, scratched, screeched, squealed. She wanted out and away from the crazy, cross-legged, chanting human and the incest foul-smelling, zipped-up nylon cell. Defeated, I scooped up my frantic little rescue in my arms, covered us with my jacket, and ran to my car. Wet, chilled, uncomfortably cramped in the back of my Honda hatchback, waiting for daylight. The juice concoction gave me diarrhea. The bathroom was closed. It was off-season. Perhaps next year I'll choose Italy. I hear it's lovely at that time of the year.
That was hilarious. Were you able to fit the kitchen sink in? All right, so James, are you ready for us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
All right. Yeah, a little bit of adjustments, but we got there. I will not harbor the same ship of anger and resentment. Instead, I will heal my grievances. They will not take up permanent residence in my heart. I have already given one auricle and one ventricle and have a new start. In its replacement, pain will be shielded. My emergence from struggles. Excuse me. Fights and conflict will change to snuggles. In my face and embrace, love will take its place. The love boat shall sail away resentment. I will not harbor the ship of anger. Resentment will be left on the shores after yesterday's storm. Letting them go will be my tireless norm. In this body, made mostly of water or melted snow, there will be fluidity, flow, and growth. I see past yesterday's wounds of my ancestors. Pain and injury will not fester. Welcoming today and celebrating tomorrow. Searching for happiness to beg, steal it, or borrow. At night, I gaze at the stars in the heaven above, in search of a constellation depicting love. I have post-surgery come upon, I have post-surgery come upon a new sensation. Within the heart, I was gifted by donation. I peer into the hearts and minds of others in search of an enemy turned brother, joining me in my goal and objectives to be fruitful and multiply, gentleness selected. With spiritual calm and a commitment to peace, avoiding chest pain and body dis-ease. I refuse to embrace anger from the past. May we all be treated first and no one last. And I will not harbor the ship of disdain, nor shall I harbor resentment, whether it be in sunshine or rain. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, James. Bubby Brown is one of our founders of Poetry Street, and we have him here today at the library, and we're going to ask him to come up and read for us. And then we're going to have our features read one more poem they have. Treat, great. Bubby Brown.
My friend has a CD.
Yes. I'm constantly amazed at all of these poets that come up, and it's just like old faithful that just keep coming up. This is an old poem I wrote a while back, and it was written. I can't recall what mindset I was in, but I know I was going through an ego struggle, realizing that sometimes men miss out on pleasures in life because that ego gets in the way. And it's entitled Crying in the Rain. To hide the fact that you were wet, work real hard, work up a sweat. You cheated last night trying to be tricky. Wear a high collared shirt to hide that hickey. Hiding stuff takes on an art to camouflage that shameful part. The same is true with masculine tears, crying in the rain to hide your tears. When aches rip through your vital parts, a loved one stabbed your heart apart. Ego won't let you show the pain. Wait a while, cry in the rain. Pumped up ego, lost direction. made me violate that order of protection. It wasn't that I meant to break the law. I just wanted to see my kids once more. What do you do in sunshine bright when there's not a rain cloud nowhere in sight? The forecast is sunny skies of blue with all the pain inside of you. You got to vent, eject the hurt, or burst buttons on your shirt. Still sunny skies, keeping the pain. A man's got to cry in the rain. Your child's been abused or taken away. Again, it happens on a sunny day. Time and time again, foils your plan. You're trying real hard to be a man. When you meet a man who acts real rude, you think he has a bad attitude. He may be a good man, wrapped in pain, holding out, waiting for that day of rain.
And for this, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. Now we're going to bring back Gayl. Gayl Teller.
I have to say, I am enjoying myself. What a delicious afternoon. So much. Variety of voices. It's been wonderful. Okay, so a little introduction to this poem. It's called A Girl, a Woman. It's in the shape of an hourglass or the ideal woman's figure. Ever go back in time and try to tell your younger self, teach your younger self something. Well, that's what I'm doing in this poem. I'm trying to talk to my younger self, save her some problems. Good luck with that, right? Okay. So, a girl, a woman. I also should say, my younger self is watching a contest where women are parading on stage and they're trying to squeeze their bodies into a cutout cardboard in the ideal shape of Diana Dors, who had this gorgeous figure years ago. So that's the contest. Who fits in this cardboard cutout of the ideal woman shape? A girl, a woman. I sit next to a girl and watch her, watching the woman in a skin-tight suit stepping into the cardboard cutout in the hourglass figure of Diana Dors upon the stage. I want to warn the girl, so wrapped in the hourglass. I can cut out some turns for her in there as she watches a woman whose hips just will not fit. There's the rub, bruised, lush as outline of model shape, scraped skin from the woman emerging with her distorted smile. I want to warn the girl who keeps a cardboard box of paper dolls in a closet, each doll cut out along dotted lines, tabs folded on pre-fab poses, as the next woman thrusts her breasts out to the frame like lush pile of home tacking. I want to warn the girl watching the woman who fits so well she could get stuck in there. She's so young enough to be my daughter, as she watches a man wrap a tape measure around the waist of a scored woman to announce how full-fitted her 24. I want to warn the girl that the show's a trickling instrument of sandy kisses, shell prizes, how cutouts hold airheads. But how can she hear me? She's so preoccupied with the hot pink bathing suit my mother got her for her birthday. with her first kiss blush on her lips under the sun deck last night, and years of turning the hourglass until she lets me into her frame with the substance of love. Thanks.
Thank you, Gayl Teller. Please come back. Ladies and gentlemen, Russ Green.
Hello again. I meant to mention earlier that I really appreciate this beautiful space. It's nice to not be in this basement. Really beautiful library. And then nice little sound system there too. All right, so this is kind of a meditation about a ride out to Orange a couple of years ago with a friend here in East End. All right, Orient Point. Lemon rinds and car rides, birth family, adopted family, family lost, mother lost. The citrus sits on the lap of my safe seductive dream. The endings and the onwards, hollow body, lump throat, lack of eating, the leaky cup. I wear my wounds like crushed velvet, and the rain welcomes me by the sultry harbor. Foggy moon craters teach lessons from their bright space and blackness. Bright space, black sky. Now the morning field of lavender is purpling apocalyptic anxiety. The tiny crepe cafe around the corner with its tiny tables and tiny chairs on the tiny careless road, handing my tongue's anticipation through the tiny window, thin dough draped in hair clip Russian accent. It's a long, narrow road back, but she's got the wheel and I've got the radio and even the burnt sienna end of day reflections on the farm stands, pavement, and sleepy trees cannot deny the rush that comes with tomorrow's new life. Thank you all. Beautiful reading, Gayl.
Thank you, Russ. And to finish this off, Linda Bullock.
Very good. Cardinals. A cardinal stopped by the other day. Angelic visitation is what they say. I stood quietly, hoping he would stay. But like other angels in my life, he too soon flew away.
Oh my gosh, that's
beautiful.
Thank you so much. And thank you all for joining us here at Poetry Street. And thank you on Zoom for joining us on Poetry Street. And we'll see you next month. Thank you and have a great holiday. And God bless Maggie and Mike makes a speedy recovery. Yes. All right. Thank you.